Alright, so everyone's question, how does the truck do two-wheel drive with this much snow? So, I'm gonna get everything put in, we're gonna get it cleaned off. You can see, how much did we get? Probably a couple of inches. So, we'll get this thing cleaned off, throw it in the back, get her unplugged, but that one's buried. Just a couple of inches, not a big deal. I only had it plugged in for about an hour. Let's see, how much is that? Probably what, like an inch or two? Well, up here it's like a couple, 3-4 inches up here. So we're supposed to get like 2 inches an hour. So let's get her cleaned off and go take this road trip. Before we take the road trip, like I said, it's been sitting overnight. Let's see if she actually starts. Starts right up. Now what you do is you turn these on and you close the door. Oh no, it's pulling out, okay.
Oh my god.
That's great.
Yeah.
Slow but still. Look. Not too bad. This with an open rear. It's not super bad right here. It's a snowplow. Yeah. Going 45. Like it's not even snowing.
How did it go from 70 yesterday to this?
It was 70 yesterday.
Gotta love March in PA.
Yeah, generally I tell people to stay home in this, but it's not super bad. You know, we're bobbing and weaving a little bit. Two-wheel drive, open rear. I'd love to get a locker at some point. That would really help. If I was loaded, this would be a different story. Look, there's a car. Two of them. Oh yeah. That guy hit me.
Did he? He hit you.
It was snow.
Oh. I thought you meant he swiped you a little bit.
Nah.
That's bad right there.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like no snow.
They didn't even plow yet, did they?
Yeah, it's plowed.
Like once? Okay, yeah, drive careful. Wow.
Oh man, it is fun.
Wow, that one's not plowed at all. Wow. Woo! Oh my god. Going sideways.
Come on, we got this. We got this.
Woo!
Oh my god, that was a good hill. We weren't making that.
There's a third house. Is that the greenhouse right there?
Now here's the hill we had to go up, and you can see. Yep, we're sliding literally sideways right now. I'm not on the accelerator at all. This is all ice. So, oh guys, what do you think? How's the two-wheel drive truck do? I think we're doing all right. Roads are pretty much covered. So we're gonna head home. I gotta film the rest of this video for you guys because I figured it'd be something you'd be interested in. So I missed it, but the whole up of this hill has been like covered. So like traction definitely breaks free a little bit. You guys will see with the steering wheel, like it's constantly back and forth. You can feel it. So other than that, I mean, if you learn to fight with that, you know, you'll be all right. You'll be all right out here. All right, so here we are. If you guys know, just to get you up to speed, so I had a YouTube channel back. I probably started this thing back in like 2017, something like that.
maybe 2018, but I'm gonna assume, you know, sometime around there. I can't remember, but it used to have 3,700 subscribers. I had 210 videos on there, like 2 or 3 videos over 100,000, and that channel got deleted. It got hacked. It was I don't know, it was an ordeal. So what I wanted to do, I went my Google Drive. I didn't know that Google has been saving pictures and videos for the longest time. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any clips from the old channel. That kind of sucks. But I do kind of want to go over some of the journey that I had, and these are all time-stamped and whatnot. So I'm going to scroll through. Now, there is some things in here I'm going to have to cut out because there's like some personal stuff. But between vehicles and trips that I made, I kind of want to go over with you guys, show you guys like stuff that I used to own, the old setup when I used to have a truck and a car back in the day. Here we go. I'm going to hit record, and look at that. So we're going to start first thing off, this right here. So this right here on the right, this is what my truck used to look like before I decided to start using it for work. It was a Ram 2500, 20 by 12, wheels, tires. Now, this wasn't the best it's ever looked. I do have some updated pictures at some point, but then you can also see my Freightliner here. Thing was a total pile, but I loved it. The clutch slipped on it. I built a custom exhaust for it. Took off the fender flares on the bed. Cables were snapped and whatnot, but that's basically what I used to use. It was a 6-speed Eaton Fuller with a 5.9 Cummins 24 valve. That was the truck that I ran. Like I said, it was a total pile. It had algae in the tank, and it just ran a lot of times. Like, it would randomly just run like crap. We were trying to get that taken care of. It was a big pain in the ass. And the head gasket was also leaking on it ever since we bought it. We got the clutch adjusted twice, and it fixed it for a little while, but that was that. So the head gasket was actually leaking from the front left corner, and every now and again we just tighten up the head studs and just let it go. Here you guys can see this was my old silver truck back when I bought it. This was a Ram 2500. I paid about $21,000 for this truck, and someone cut me off and ended up going down through all of these fence posts, and it ripped. Like, these fence posts were good 3-4 feet in the ground, and it did some damage. There's the car behind. I flipped him around. He wasn't the one that caused the accident. There was a guy that he cut us both off. He tried to shoot around me. This guy cut him off, and he shot into me, and we both went down into the embankments. That was fun. That was back when the cold start. Yeah, there's the 20 by 12s with the fender flares and whatnot. Here was a trip I made with my cat. I was with my cat for a while there. You can see like some of the trips I used to make from like North Carolina out to, like to say that's, I forget what state that is, probably Arizona. Here's where some of the peak pictures were. So what was that? Friendship Church Road, yeah, day and 6 hours, 2007 mile trip. Here's my cat back in the day, back when I didn't have back seats. This was the first time I'd ever pulled a $200,000 camper. That thing was beautiful. And you can see the truck here. This was probably when the truck was in its prime, minus the mirrors. Those things kind of look like shit, but everything else was good besides the hood, the mirrors, and the roof. But this was back in its prime. 20 by 12s, fender flares. It was a good looking truck, and I do plan on making it look like that again, like paint-wise. So I do miss the fender flares, but they really destroy the paint. This was back when I was just letting it eat, I guess. 76 miles an hour at 3,000 RPMs. That was a good time. So here's Jake the dog in the background. That's an old picture back when I had my snake bites. There's Liam when he was younger, and Jake in the Honda Fit. I got to pull my dream trailer back in the day. This thing was amazing. This was about when the truck peaked on its looks. I had the 2 little marker lights on the side. I had the light bar up top. Here was a dark picture. And then check out what this trailer does. So you guys can see here, this is a 40-foot tandem dually, and it does that. That is awesome. So that went up to Erie, Pennsylvania. We had Liam back in the day when we didn't have the back seat, but this was when he was younger. We used to travel back when I did power only. This was, again, still the truck looked great. I had these little things here. This ultimately was when the truck peaked. Looking back, yeah, I kind of miss it. Negative 13 degrees down in New Mexico. Back when I used to tow in flip-flops and bare feet, and I'd walk out there and my bare feet didn't have a tailgate on the truck, so that kind of was bad. But yeah, this load paid very well. Old campers that I used to take, like stuff like that. This camper ended up losing a wheel bearing on one side and a tire on the other. Still had the cord sticking out the front with the tinted lights and everything. Yeah, good times. Here is back when we used to pull 48 footers. That was my silver truck when we converted it to a dually. Big 48 foot US mobile kitchens. You can see U.S. Mobile Kitchens, again, single wheel truck, 21K trailer. Good times, they were both mine. This was when I got a blowout on that exact same trip, so we took one of the dualies off of the other truck, and this is ultimately when the dually conversion happened. I had a 2-inch spacer back here, and we just slapped the wheels on. Both trucks were now single wheel with dually wheels, and then look, this is the first time I decided it's time to ruin the truck and dually convert it. 20x12s up front and 17-inch dualies in the back. Yes, it was 4-wheel drive back then. I had my light bar. Back when I thought that was cool. Looks like we are out of time on the recording. Let me transfer everything over and get right back to you. Here was when it was dually swapped. This was back when I had borderline no money. Like, it was always just as cheap as possible. I always was I'd get on Craigslist and buy $150 worth of tires. And that's how I used to run back in the day. I'm very thankful that I'm not in that position anymore. Very thankful. I used to have dark window tint. Here was when the silver truck, the transmission finally went out on it. So we had to tow it home. I drove it home, towed it. This was a pretty good snowstorm. Yeah, that trailer, not in that picture, but yeah, that was pretty bad. Green cab lights. This is back. See if it loads. There you go.
Here's what 34 hours straight looks like. Just about 34 hours straight on a Edge CTS2.
That's without shutting it off. That's runtime. I got the runtime up to 99 hours on the dot in one of my previous videos. Yeah, this was a trailer I pulled back. Yeah, that was that same one. So you can see the front tires getting a little choppy. Again, didn't really have the money to replace them back then. I finally did get 2 new tires for the front, but like I said, it was definitely balling on a budget back then. I went probably 6 months without seeing more than $1,000 a month in my pocket. There's a good shot. You guys can see here, back with the black gauges and, you know, all that. Used to drive, there was 451 miles on there, 76, 77 mile an hour. I think I was empty at this point, but yeah, you can see the RPMs on it. Like, it's very, very low. Like, at 80 mile an hour, I'm not even, like, that's the nice thing about 373s and 33-inch tires. This was the silver truck with my 20x12s on it, my dually in the background, my black truck now. This was back when we threw this turbo was welded to this manifold as well. Look, you can see we swapped the dually fronts. This was back, and you can see the dates. This was Sunday, January 20th, 2019. Almost the whole year before the engine finally blew up. Let's see what this, oh, here we go. How much boost was that? 45 pounds of boost. You guys think I beat the truck now? So yeah, just a bunch of stuff in here. This was a beautiful camper back in the day. If I were to buy one, these Attitudes are awesome. Truck was definitely starting to look like a pile. Basically, from this section up, looked great, and then the dualies just kind of ruined it. I understand that. Here's back in the day where I was in California and the tow lot was up here in Harrisburg. I think first time going out. This was back when I did my first bed setup. Got rid of the center console. I got so much crap for that, but it really worked out well. Toolbox on the side. This was the last time the truck would probably look nice. Ever since we put this bumper on it, it looked absolutely horrendous. Had leather seats. Oh, I hated the leather seats. I hated the Laramie interior. Pulling our dump trailer. Come on. I think this was when we were moving. You can see all the burnout marks and whatnot. We used to do a lot of burnouts. My old Honda Accord in the background, I missed that car too. There's the Durango that you guys know that we were trying to make 1,000 horsepower with, but the blower's too small. Pulling generators. These generators pay fairly well for what they are. Stuff like this. There's a good picture of when the truck, back in the day, this was when it looked good. I think it looked better with the fender flares, honestly, and the mud flaps. With the light bar, I do think that looked pretty good, but this was, what happened here? I ended up destroying the bumper and the back here, jackknifing a trailer back in the day. It was a little generator in a snowy lot, and there was only so much I could do. And they're like, keep coming, and then it hooked under the bumper, and it was a bad time. That bed got scrapped. This is when we put the wheel lift on the truck. So here's the wheel lift. That thing was awesome, but it was heavy. Back when I used to draw on the windows and whatnot, this was when the Durango was getting built. To draw on the windows, the YouTube and whatnot, and now it's like, now I try to hide it, and like, I don't want anyone knowing out in public. I think it looked pretty decent here. I had a side exit on it because the wheel lift was in the way. Side exit was the worst thing I could have done. It really destroyed the outer tires. It was just melting tires. So we had to stop doing that. It was back. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. I think it looked pretty decent there. I really do think that a decent paint job and some nice wheels and tires will clean this truck up. I really do think that. This was still with the 2-inch space. No, I may have done the dually swap at this point. It had 2-inch spacers on the front and then 2-inch spacers between. But these were the 48s that we used to pull. This is when Josh got his... Okay, here's Josh. Thor. His first time experiencing a CDL setup, and this is ultimately what made him decide, I should go get my CDL. And he did. He went and got his CDL Class A. I should have mine here in a couple months. I have my permit now, so I am exempt from the February BS. Yeah, without the spacers in the front, the fender flares kind of made it look like crap, but it definitely needs some wider wheels and tires. Here's a boat that I pulled. Here's a small camper. Here's a fifth wheel. This was back when we were doing nasty burnouts. Thing was, we actually set the truck's tires on fire when we were doing this one burnout, but some of these pictures may be a little out of order. Here is back out in California, and I think, yeah, I lost a fender flare. One of my fender flares flew off, so that is something that happens. These things were neat. Pulled a bunch of these, bunch of those were cool. The day that we decided to rip the fender flares off, it looks pretty good. We lost a taillight. Decided to finally put dually fenders on it. And I remember doing that in the parking lot. I don't know. It was pretty bad. I remember I painted them with, here was the finished product. I remember I painted them black. I mean, the truck didn't look overly bad. I just don't like those big fender flares. They're definitely not my thing. And I do think that they ruin a good looking truck. I like the look of a flat truck the whole way down, and then maybe like a minor flare, like kind of like the mega cab flares. Here was like a back shot. You can see, look, there's a little Liam in the background. Come on, load. There we go. You can see Liam in the background when he was a lot smaller. The wheel lift in the back. I mean, it made a pretty healthy unit. Like you can see, it definitely was a decent work truck back then. Not that it isn't now, but this was back. Josh with the International. This truck was a total pile. I don't know why. He loved this truck, but it was a pile. Every time I remember we had to go buy several 55-gallon barrels of oil just to keep the thing running. It went every 200 miles. You'd have to put gallons of oil in it. It was like a gallon of oil every 100 miles. It was insane. Definitely needed a good overhaul on that. There's that, and then here is... This was my first trip down to Florida. My stepdad drove my other truck down there, so we took two 48-footers. First trip down, I lost a water pump seal and a drive shaft carrier bearing. Actually, the bolts weren't tight, and they worked their way loose and ended up launching themselves. So that was the first time I'd ever launched that drive shaft. We got that taken care of pretty quickly. Then we have, this was the silver truck before we did the paint down here, back at the old shop. Cap, all that. That was a good looking truck, but I let everybody and their brother drive that truck. This was back when it was a flatbed, back with Justin's truck, back with my truck. That's about when it looked pretty good. This, I don't know, I regret doing that. This is what my truck looked like when I bought it. Had a 3-inch leveling kit in the back and a little bit of a lift in the back, and that was the first thing I remember taking off. The headlights didn't work. The grill, I replaced all that, got a new valance for the front bumper, new mirrors, new cab lights, pretty much everything. It was pretty ugly, but I paid $14,700 for it. My F-150, the 40-foot trailer that I used to have, my old Iron Bull. I liked that trailer. 40-foot Iron Bull, triple axle, 21K trailer. This was when we lost the motor in the 5500 back here, so I had to go and tow that. New mirrors, lights there. I was finally figuring out how to get labels made. Yep, more 48-footers, 400,000 mile mark. Here was, we lost the front brakes, so here's Liam. I don't know why these pictures take forever to load. There we go. So, 2-inch spacer up front. You can see the side exit. This was when we were running power only. Just doing the brakes in the parking lot. There's Liam up there. Let me see if the next picture, yeah, there he is. Liam up there. This was a while back. 2019, April 3rd, 2019. Almost 3 years ago. This was about when the truck was done. We said, screw it, we're gonna run it. 2-inch spacers up front, 5-inch stack. Got rid of the side pipe, and it was a good, that thing was loud though. with the common rail, it's super loud. Kitty in my fender flare. Look at this cat. Back when I bought the truck. I don't know why some of these pictures come up out of you know, date, but this was back when I had the old hitch. I never welded the thing to it yet. 4x4. Decent looking truck, but definitely way too high up. 40-foot park model. I remember the guy telling me that I was going to crash this trailer because I didn't run the things down here, and I had to take this from like Ohio out to California. And the guy's like, okay. And this is when I painted the fender flares too and everything. So, but that's what he told me. He's like, oh yeah, you're not gonna make it, this and that. And I'm like, all right. And I made it. Never heard another call from him. This was the same thing with the park model and everything. So you can see the pictures and whatnot.